Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people where we speak about critical issues in the blindness community and all other issues from across the universe and galaxy. Today we're joined by someone who I've wanted to interview for a very long time. He's someone by the name of Shawn Keen. He does a tremendous amount for blind people, especially when it relates to the development and study thereof artificial intelligence, the creator and founder of AI for the Blind on Facebook, and I'm sure many, many other things. I'm going to mute my microphone, sit back and listen to you for at least an hour so you can walk through your whole life journey, talk about everything you want me to know, and don't say anything you don't want me to repeat. Who's Shawn Keen? And by the way, I want to actively learn from you today about your whole philosophy about artificial intelligence and how that influences blind people, society. So really get under my skin today. Really give me the whole story about AI for the blind and who you are as a person. I'm going to sit back and listen to you. Go.
Okay, well, my name is Shawn Keen, and I'm a 51-year-old blind guy from Fort Worth, Texas. I like to say that, I was born with vision loss. I was born with blindness. I was born with glaucoma in 1974, August 9, 1974. So I just turned 51. Now I'm totally blind. But when I was born with glaucoma. And so, um, I had some usable vision from birth till maybe about age 20. And then I think I lost it all then. I say I think because I don't know. The vision loss part was so gradual, and I was already used to like reading Braille and using a cane and doing all that stuff. So really wasn't that big of a deal. But vision loss is different for everybody. So I don't want to minimize anybody's else's story. That's just my story. But in saying all that, my favorite joke of all time is when somebody asks if I've been blind all of my life, and I can still say not yet. So, that's kind of me. I'm blind. I'm a tech guy. I'm a tech nerd. I've been playing with technology since I was probably 10 years old, and I didn't realize it at the time, but technology was going to play a really important role in my life. I graduated from high school and tried college, but college wasn't for me. I hated college. I wanted to go out and work and make money. And so I tried to do that, and I've been trying to do that most of my life. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. And, it's just kind of been an experience. But really, I like to say, and not to sound like a wild DJ or radio guy, but really, I like to say my life started in 2022. And in January of 2022, I had a stroke, a frontal right cortex stroke. And for the lucky part was that it mainly affected my balance and a little bit of my speech. You'll notice sometimes I mispronounce a word or something, or there's some hesitation, and those are side effects from the stroke. Um, but at the time I had the stroke, I was working for the Texas Workforce Commission, or Texas Workforce. What is it? Texas Workforce Commission. Yeah. The blindness rehabilitation program in Texas. And while I was doing that, I was living life. Me and my wife, we were having some challenges with medical and just a whole lot of things were going on at the time. And all of this to say that after a stroke and all that, when I was going through rehab, my escape has always been the computer, getting into technology and figuring out, learning how things work and just playing around. And so, AI, artificial intelligence, Chat GPT came out in November of 2022. And I don't even know, I don't even think I knew what it was. In fact, I know I didn't know what it was. I heard people talking about this text chat thing that you could go in and ask questions and have it translate, have it write for you and things like that. And I tried it out and I was like, this is cool. This is fun. I can do something with this. So, um, I spent about 2 years really being focused on learning how to use AI, and I started with the text version of AI, and then I moved on to making images. And honestly, this AI for the blind thing started in what was it? It was July of 2023. Or no, July of take that back. Let's go to April of 2023. I started this podcast, and the podcast was called We Speak. It it was just something really to do. And from the podcast, I started this group. That was July 11th of 2024. This group, AI for the Blind. And they was just really a place for me to post my silly AI stuff, the images, the stories, the text, the just all the fun stuff I was doing with AI, all the stuff I was learning. And then from that experience, people started joining. People started being interested in what I was doing. And so I was just writing and posting the things I enjoyed doing, learning about AI. And so from that came where I guess where we're at now, which is a little over 14,000 people in AI for the blind. And it's grown into a community of people that want to learn how to use AI and how to make cool things like pictures and music and fun stuff. I mean, it's incredibly inspiring to use AI to make an image or make a song, and it, it's done wonders personally for my mental health and all. And I know you said you were going to sit back and listen, but I'll give you a chance to ask some questions because I really do better with questions, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right, fine. Well, you're asking for it. I'll ask you some. Fine. You want questions? I'll give you questions. So, well, I'm a young guy. I'm a young kid. I was born in 91 with glaucoma. I also have a congenital heart defect. All right. My story actually, similarly to yours, is filled with health issues. As you can tell by the way I talk, I have a lot of health issues with my lungs and breathing. And so sometimes if my voice sounds a little, as I like to tell people, if my voice sounds a little gruff at times, it's not because I'm angry. It's because there's something wrong with my lungs now. Which is why I breathe weird. And I know that I breathe weird, by the way. Anyway, yeah, I hated college too, but I still graduated from it, with a degree in international relations. And I'm also a bilingual guy, English, French, by the way. And you know, the funny thing about all this, Shawn, is I have discovered in my own existence that I have taken the thing there's two things that make me happy in my life. One is my job, as I'm a online English teacher, and I teach English as a second language to foreigners online with several companies. And also podcasting. I got into the podcast space in 2020 during the pandemic because I wanted to create a space where blind people, and really anyone, by the way, can come to my microphone and have a great conversation. And I've discovered that by doing the things that make me happy in life, like helping you to create a podcast or, you know, having these conversations, you know, when I do that, I'm happier. And it's so beneficial to blind people. And I find that blind people really need this stuff, whether it's AI or podcasting or both. I'm very truly touched by your group. I mean, 14, as you say, 14K, 14,000 people. That's really, really special. So tell me this. I have several questions. One of which is, what is it about AI that is so appealing to so many blind people? For one, for another, when blind people come to your Facebook group, surely you have many moderators who ask questions, and you obviously moderate your group just like I do with mine. But what are some of the primary reasons why blind people are joining your group, and exactly what are their true motivations? And then the third thing that you can dig into a little bit more and further is, so what else is going on with your podcast these days, for one? And you know, how do you really think AI can be used appropriately and professionally in the podcasting creation space? Because here's what's really going on, Shawn. There's a lot of debate about whether AI is truly helping us or simply befuddling and confusing and manipulating our society. So there, I know that was a lot, but if you can walk through that, and if you need me to repeat the questions, but go from there and sort of walk through all those things if you want.
Okay, no, I can do that definitely, and you sound fine. I wouldn't have known any of that if you hadn't told me. So, why do I enjoy AI? I think mainly it's because it's text based and it's something that anyone can do from any skill level. So you don't have to be a computer science, you don't have to be a computer science degree professional, you don't have to be an IT person. You could be anybody. You could load up the Be My Eyes app and start communicating with AI and your own style, your own cadence, your own conversation style. So that's one reason that anyone can use it. But the other reason is like I said, it's text. So I can use text to create an image or a story or a song or a video. And I think in the future, well, I don't think, I know in the near future that blind people are going to be editing videos with text and creating all kinds of things. The sky's the limit. Um, but in all of my joy that comes from AI and all of the fun that I have with it and my group and everything I do with artificial intelligence, I'll say that it's not perfect. Um, and I shouldn't have to say this next part, but don't believe everything a computer tells you. um, I mean, it should go without saying, but I have to repeat that quite a bit. Um, it's only as good as I don't want to say the user, cause it's having AI around is like having a brilliant 3-year old that gets distracted real easily. So it's very powerful. It's very cool. There's a lot you can do with it. But it's also a tool. It's also a um a tool that you should learn how to use effectively. I guess I would say there's an incredible amount of productivity and creativity that can come from this, but like anything, you really need to understand the parameters behind it and what you're doing. And really, what you're doing is you're learning to use a tool that's a predictive tool. All of this AI stuff is just statistics. There's no like alien life force in there that's doing all this stuff. It's just all predictive. I know that sounds incredible that most people don't believe that, but it is. The best example I can give is that AI essentially is a pattern generator. It looks for patterns in text, in communication, and in language and all. And one of the most simple examples of that is a thing we've all heard. It's this nursery rhyme, Mary had a little. And if you type Mary had a little into any AI model, it will finish that phrase off with little lamb, her fleece was white as snow. And if you change little to Mary had a big, then you get something totally different. So try that out and you'll start to understand that AI is really just this really advanced statistics machine that a lot of us have learned how to use to do other things with. I use it for my writing because my writing is actually pretty good. Before my stroke, it was a lot better. I could type like 90 words a minute, and now I still type pretty fast, and I've gotten better in the last couple of years. But one thing I do when I type is double letters. My dexterity in my left hand is better, but still not where it was before. And so, all of my posts, all of my emails, all of the emails I sent you, Aaron, are AI generated. And when I say that, I write everything out. I write everything myself. But then I have these prompts that I've created using AI that I run my text through the AI and it fixes my typing mistakes. Kind of like an advanced spell check, an advanced autocorrect, you might call it. And I've worked with the prompts that I've created to make that better, to make it look like how Shawn Keen writes, not how AI writes, not how ChatGPT writes, but how I write. And so in doing that, I've learned to just not just create content for my group, but create content for my speaking, the presentations I do, the webinars, and just all the fun stuff I do. Because that's why I do this. I enjoy teaching people what you can do with this AI stuff, and that's kind of where my group has taken off from. People join AI for the blind to learn how to use AI. We got some really amazing people in this 14,000 people group, member group. Sorry, that came out wrong. But there's 14,000 creative souls in this AI for the blind group. And we got people building websites. My favorite story is this guy, Cody. I can't think of his last name, but um, accessibletrader.com, I believe, is his website. And he has used AI and chat and different AI models to build a a trader, money, like a financial trader education site. Like you can go there and learn about crypto and all kinds of stuff. And it's really well done. It is really well done. But Cody's an example of somebody that he's not a programmer, he's not a developer, he's not anything like that. He's just devoted to using AI to help people learn how to invest and how to get into the financial sector a little bit, and that's really cool. I got a blind farmer in my group. His name's Jason Barber. He's in Tennessee, and he's a blind farmer, and he uses AI to help him run his 100-acre cattle farm. It's pretty wild. But I meet all kinds of people that do all kinds of amazing things, and that's what I say is I mean, people think I'm this wizard. I'm not. I'm just this computer nerd that enjoys playing with computers and learning things. And what I like to hear is what other people are doing with AI, like how they're creating stuff with it, how they're perfecting things. So hopefully that answered your questions. And if not, try again.
It certainly answered my questions. You answered my questions with perfection. Yeah, that's really fun. That's really, really beautiful that you were two people in your group were able to create. Cody, I've heard the name. I don't want to name drop it. Not, and I'm sure, and he's great. I do vaguely remember that post. And
Yeah,
the other
sure.
person in the group. I mean, I've never seen it, but that's also very, very intriguing. So I guess my other next questions. So, podcasters, us in the podcast space, which most of my compelling interests, like you have fun with AI. Me as a podcaster, I'm thinking about, okay, what's this episode about? What's my next guest? Who's my next person I need to contact? It's kind of like that. It's kind of next game, next up. And we think in the podcast space, we think that AI can be used. So how can AI help a podcaster? How do you think podcasters need to be using AI? And so I'm sure that it's possible to build a podcast website using AI. Talk about that. What do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that was the one question of yours I hadn't got to yet. But so my website for my podcast is blindhq.com. And that's really become the Shawn Keen kind of calling card website. It's cool to have a website because you can get some business cards made with website on it. And that's what it is. It's a way for people to learn about you and what you're doing. And my podcast, my second podcast, I've created like a lot of them. I started with AI for the blind and built it up to about 20,000 listens. And then I started over. Not because it wasn't doing well. It was just, I felt like I'd kind of hit a brick wall. Like I was just kind of going in circles. So I needed a new podcast to kind of start over. So If you go to blindhq.com, you'll find Feeling a Bit Keen, which is my newest podcast, and just my place to kind of talk about Shawn Keen, what I do and what I enjoy doing, and give me a place to not just talk about AI or technology, but anything going on in my life. And so, how can podcasters use AI? I think and this is opinion here, but I think it's like a hybrid approach. And that's kind of what I do with all of my podcasting stuff is, like I said, I can talk pretty good. I can communicate pretty well, but, there are times when, I don't want to talk. I don't want to be the voice. So, I use AI voices. Um, I have this AI voice, Chris from 11 Labs, that my wife loves. She said his voice is great, so I use that voice a lot in my speaking. I call it my AI virtual voice, and so I'll go to the 11 Labs website. And 11 Labs is not the only place you can do that. In fact, recently I've learned about this website called chatterboxtts.com. And I first heard about it on this other podcast called Double Tap. And they were talking about this last week, and I haven't tried it yet, but it's really good for cloning your own voice, which is something I've been trying to do more effectively. But how I use podcasting with AI is with the AI voices and kind of a hybrid approach of having people, like real people, mixed in with AI and using AI voices, maybe in an interview process. Stay tuned. You'll hear something about that in the next couple of weeks on Feeling a Bit Keen, how I did an interview recently with the makers of the Braille Doodle, which is a fun, creative tool. It's not electronic. It's not AI. It's not technical at all. It's a mechanical device for drawing tactily. And so I interviewed them a couple of weeks ago, and I've been procrastinating on producing that episode, but I need to get down and do it. And that's kind of the other thing about my podcast is I think a lot of times people don't, this is a different audience. This is a different era, you might say. This is the TikTok era. This is when people want short form content. And so I try to do 30 minutes or less. A lot of times it's 10 minutes or less. But I think there are a lot of ways podcasters could use AI for creating content, for creating episodes, not just using like AI like the way I do, but using AI to help you come up with ideas, to generate posts for marketing, all of the stuff that a lot of people do. And there's probably some other creative ways. Literally what I do is I make all of my episode music, all of my it's called bed music, and what it is it's music that goes under the speaker. That's called a bed. If you didn't know that. And so I make my music that I use that plays underneath when I'm talking or one of my AI voices is talking in the episodes and stuff. That's a good use. Sound effects. You can make AI generated sound effects. So there's really a lot of ways out there. Adobe, Adobe has some AI podcasting tools that are quite useful for filters, for taking out, background sounds and stuff. Riverside. You can do a lot of transcription. I did this thing. Here's a fun little productivity AI trick for you, and you can do this with just Zoom. Now, when I started doing this, I was using this website called Read.ai, and Read.ai is a tool that you can basically sign up for, and it adds a AI bot to all of your meetings, all of your virtual meetings, and it will transcribe for you. And it's really cool. And you can do the same thing with Zoom now. Zoom will transcribe for you. But literally, what I used to do is I'd be like, okay, I want to have a journal. So I would start a Zoom meeting and join from my phone. And at the time I was living in a house and we had a pool. And so I'd go out there and float around my pool and talk to my phone for an hour. And then I would have a generated transcript of my text. And I could take that text and go do something else with it. Go brainstorm some ideas or something. So hopefully that answered your question.
Absolutely. Absolutely it did. Yes, of course. I mean, in my case, yeah, you're very right. So I use a company called Spreaker, of course, which is the hosting platform for Aaron's Opinion. So I guess what I'm wondering is, I guess, if I were to create, or I'm sure there's a way, but one of the things I've always wanted is a website for Aaron's Opinion, but a website that includes all of my various links and groups and business cards and all those things. And if I have a website, I would want it to be put together in a obviously ethical way and in a professional way. So when you're using this AI, Shawn, how can you tell? And I know that you're doing it ethically, but how can you tell when you're creating with AI that you're still maintaining, social ethics and things like that?
And that's just it. Is okay. So let me give you an example. My
Mhm.
website, blindhq.com, I built entirely with AI. In fact, anytime I want to make any changes to my website, it's saved in a folder in my Dropbox, and all I literally do is I go to ChatGPT and I load all of those files into ChatGPT and then say, I want to create a new page for my website. And there's some prompting that goes on there. There's some things that you have to kind of get in the weeds about, get into the details on, I guess you would say. But I will generate all of the code, all of the links and all of the text and everything using AI. And then when I'm done, I save everything and I email my buddy Leo, who is in the United, what is it? United Arab Emirates, I believe. UAE. I should have said that. So I'll email Leo and say, can you update my website? And he'll get on and just upload the files, and put them up on the server for me. And he's a developer and he can fix some things if there's any problems, there's any coding errors or things that, like I said, AI is not perfect. It will get things wrong. It'll make mistakes like we will. And so, a lot of times if there's something I don't know how to do, I ask AI. It used to be I'd go to Google when I didn't know how to do something. Now I go to ChatGPT and I treat it uh, like almost like another human. And, I go there and I ask my question, about, podcasting or anything. Here's a quick trick. If you want to learn how to do something with AI, just go ask it. I know that sounds pretty simple, but really, I used to get on ChatGPT and say things like this. I would say, um, I know that writers have methods for creating content for writing. List 10 of those methods that writers use for creating content. And then I would take whatever it came back with. And one of the things it always lists is the storytelling method and the hero's quest method and things like that. And start asking questions about those. And you'll learn how to manipulate, how to utilize those different methods in your process. Then you might go back and tell the AI, create me a story about blank in the storytelling method, or in the hero's quest method. You use all of what you learn. It's not perfect, and don't expect it to be perfect. You're gonna have to edit things. You're gonna have to fix things. You might have to bring in a contractor. You might have to bring in somebody to help you. And maybe that's where the ethical side comes into it. Is you're not just using the computer to to solve all your problems. You're using your own knowledge. You're using your own skills to build something, to create something. You might have to use some human ingenuity, but you're creating. You're taking something and building it out and using a methodology, as it were, maybe to create this content. And I lost my train. But go ahead. Go, help me out here.
Of course, absolutely. Got it. That's really fun. That's really, really, really fascinating. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess you could easily create a podcast website, if you wanted to. You could create something,
Oh yeah.
for Aaron's opinion. Just, by the way, just being hypothetical, obviously, but I know it's possible. One of the things that I think is very easy to do that could probably be done is create some sort of website where each time my RSS updates, people get notified, because sure, as a podcaster, you have subscribers, but people come and go. If there was some way, and I know there is, to have a website where my RSS would send a signal or send some sort of code out to people when there's a new episode, that would be kind of cool too,
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead. Yes.
Oh, I was just gonna answer your RSS feed basically does that. Anytime you upload an episode, that's what the RSS feed does. Is
Good. Yeah,
it
I hope so.
propagates that, it propagates that out there. But yeah, you could. I mean, all this stuff you could build a website. You could do all this, and your first stop should be a ChatGPT to ask how to do it. and
Absolutely.
and if you need some help, call me.
Absolutely. What about what has been your perception of the way that certain things are marketed? And what I mean by this is, look, Shawn, we have ways of sending, text messages, marketing texts.
Hmm.
When you send, as you can tell, I'm not an IT person because I don't have the vocab for it. When you receive a text from a company and it says, text this word to stay notified about all future updates and that type of thing. The terminology is escaping my mind, but how could that work for podcasts? And have you ever set something like that up? Because text message marketing, when done appropriately, is very interesting and can also be a very compelling thing too. Yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, and that's something I've been interested in, and a lot of it comes down to is finding the providers, finding the companies that do that, and finding an accessible way to do it. That's really our challenge, is that we're blind and that we have to figure out ways of doing this with other means, using IRA or Be My Eyes, or finding ways of doing this stuff, getting past the visual problems that we all have, and that's the challenge. And that's what I've been doing, is using AI to help me to learn how to market myself, how to promote myself. Because I didn't know any of this stuff when I started. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just like, I want to do something. I want to create something, but there's a, there's a hill to climb. And, so that's kind of what I did I used the AI to help me to learn how to market myself. And in fact, I just posted something this morning in my AI for the blind group, all
Hmm.
about social media and the metrics and how all that stuff works. And that's stuff you can learn from AI, is how, like how the algorithms work and how that helps you to market yourself better.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the algorithm works because it's based on behavior that's predictable. It's all about predictability in behavior. That's why it
Sure,
works.
it is.
And to some extent, I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's a very, very good thing, in a lot of ways. In other ways, I would just say philosophically that if you're basing a algorithm on behavior that's predictable, well, obviously the limitation there is that people are not predictable. I mean, in some ways we are with social media. In some ways we are very predictable, but in every other way we're not predictable at
We
all.
are.
You know,
We are.
um, we are predictable except for when we're not. You know, except for when we change our mind or decide to not watch a certain video. You know, if you want to really learn what an algorithm is, just spend time on YouTube. You know, YouTube is the definition of algorithm. You know how some channels move up very quickly and other channels don't. You know, and then there's an enormously high number of channels that lose interest because they don't get the click, they don't get the views, and that's very saddening. Because if only they had been on for a few more years and developed, if YouTube had figured out what their audience is, then they would have been able to move forward much more quickly, you know. But yeah, that's a very interesting thing. So what are some other marketing things that you've done with AI to, as you say, it's a way to market ourselves. So what else have you done with that when it relates to marketing?
Um, you know, and learning, because a lot of this stuff, when I say stuff, I mean like Facebook or podcasting or any of the metrics. The metrics are important. Your stats are really important. And so, here, I'll give you an example. I download my Facebook stats nearly, not every day, about 3 or 4 times a week. I'll go to my group and download all of the growth and it's growth and engagement. And I'll download those Facebook stats. Then I'll upload them to ChatGPT and start having some conversations about learning about how many new members I've got and how many, um, what the posting metrics are like in my group. So here's a here's a wild stat, and I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm really quite shocked by this, but um, monthly in my Facebook group, there's something like 140,000 views. That's people that view the various posts or comments, and you can learn from that. You can learn how to better um, take those topics, take those posts that go out in that group and learn how to do it better, learn how to get better engagement because we are predictable in a sense that we're on social media and we're looking for things, we're looking to learn things, we're looking to and people learn in all kinds of different ways. People learn from either reading a book or learning a skill from a tutorial or something, or people learn from humor. People learn from being entertained. People learn from stories. I learn from stories a lot of times. And have you ever heard this book series called historical fiction? It's
I've not necessarily heard of it. I know what historical fiction is or could mean, but I haven't. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. So William Johnstone is an author and he
Sure.
writes the Western books that are, they're all very fictional. They're all very storyline-ish, but the facts are true. Like the actual facts of the historical events are true. They just build a fictional storyline around it. And so what I try to do is I take it to the same level as my AI music. I hadn't mentioned this too much, but
That's all right.
I have an AI band called Velvet Circuit, and you can find that on any streaming service. And so one of the things I do with my AI music is I build education into it. So I have this song from Christmas I put out last Christmas called "Painting with Pixels," and it's a Christmas song. And in the song, it's a song about a lady that's lonely on Christmas Eve, and so she's learning how to make AI images. And there's actually an AI image prompt in the song that if you go type it into an AI image generator, it'll generate that image from the song. So you learn things from the music. You
That's
learn
really
things
cool.
from stories. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of
Super
fun.
cool.
And I've
Is
done
it
quite a bit with that.
good? Is your music on Spotify?
It is. It's on
Oh,
Spotify, Apple Music. Look up Velvet Circuit, Painting with Pixels. That's one song.
how many songs do you have on
Gosh,
on Spotify?
probably 50 or 60.
Oh, okay. Can you just simply, there's a specific method to my madness. Can you send me your Spotify link?
Oh, I will. Definitely.
Because,
Definitely.
because if I can take all those songs, so I've curated over the years, I've curated a playlist on Spotify where each time I interview somebody who has their music, if they're blind or have a disability or sighted, whoever they are, we at Aaron's Opinion, we have a playlist for that. And we have hundreds of songs that are created by
Oh,
other
wow.
blind creators.
No,
So
that's
this would be a
great.
great playlist for you to be on. And then I'll give you the playlist and then you can share it in your group if you want, of
Of
course.
course. Of
And then
course.
all these other blind musicians from all over the world will get more of a download. So Spotify playlists are really fun. When you build them up the right way, playlists are getting really, really powerful for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It is. It is very,
Yeah. So do you
very
think you have
cool.
any
Um,
natural, yes, go ahead.
oh, no, I was just going to say that that's getting um, that's promotion. That's
Absolutely.
promotion. People don't think that, but it is. Playlists are promotion.
It's ridiculously promotional. There's nothing more exciting, and there's no greater honor as a musician to be added to someone else's playlist. And people don't understand that. All these musicians, what they want to do is be added to bigger and bigger and more prestigious playlists. So if you can be on a playlist like mine, go for it
Of course.
because, you never know where the songs will land. It's all within the Spotify algorithm. But Spotify has really taken off as far as quality of music and playlists and different tools, and Spotify is really cool now. Yeah, Spotify is incredible. So I was going to ask you though, do you think you have like natural musical ability? Do you ever sing or write any of your like natural music? Just you?
I have, yeah, yes and no, yes and no. So I'm not a musician per se. I did play drums in high school. I was a jazz band and things like
Right.
that, and I understand music. I understand music theory, and I understand how to write, how to make music. Like the the dynamics, the details behind it. And that's helpful, I think, to understand how to make music. But to make AI music, you don't have to be a musician at all. In fact, it's almost you're not a musician. Um, don't always irritate people when I say that, but it's true because you're not, when you're making AI music, you're not making a score. You're not making a song in the key of C, and it's not going to have measures and all this. It's going to be more of like, I want to make a country song about apples. It's that simple. But you can also take your lyrics, which I do have a lot of lyrics to my songs, and you can go to an AI generator and take your lyrics and then give it a style, any style you want, and create your music in that way. And I have this one of my ideas is that some band, I don't care if they're famous or not, they might be after this, some band will take one of my songs and go make it famous. And I don't want any money for it. You can have my music for free. You can go you can go play it professionally for free, and I just want to be your friend. Because I figure if a bunch of bands go make my music popular and they're all my friends, my life will be pretty good.
Guess what? I got to let me tell you the truth about something. I have a bridge to sell you. See, I don't think so. I think if you give your music out for free to other bands and then they promote and then they sing it, I think they'll forget. Eventually, they'll forget who gave it to them, and it'll eventually be their
They might.
song, for
They might.
sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah, that's very all very very intriguing. Yeah, how many countries? If you have thousands of people in this AI group on Facebook, so how many countries are visiting your group? What's your international audience like?
So the number one, of course, is the United States, and Canada and England and Australia are top. countries, of course, but we reached 70 countries. India is in there. There's a lot of, I mean, we're all over the world, and that's something that is a learning experience. Sometimes it's not everything about the United States. I mean, it's about everywhere else too. It's other people's experiences and life experiences in there. So yeah, we're worldwide. We're growing. We're always growing. That's what I'm doing here. I'm promoting AI for the blind.
And that's what I'm doing here. I completely support your message here at Aaron's Opinion. That's so good. We're starting to come towards the end of the conversation. We have about another 12 minutes. Surely, we both have stuff to do, obviously, but but I wanted to give you a great opportunity now that I always like to give guests, and I'm sure you're going to be able to really get under my skin. But, what are some questions you really have about this Aaron Richmond guy in Aaron's Opinion? What do you really want to know about me? And trust me, I really want you to make me sweat and really, really ask some hard questions for me, really deliver some questions. What do you really want to know about Aaron's Opinion and Aaron Richmond?
Um, what is some and this is kind of what I've learned about myself is like I didn't think I was a creative person at all. I had to learn that, and I think this whole stroke thing made me smarter. Because I used to be pretty sharp, but a lot of the things I've done have been since having a stroke, which is not common. So
Yeah.
what what excites you? What drives you? What really makes you want to get up every day?
What really drives me is knowing that I'm helping other people. As we say here at Aaron's Opinion, help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow. It's the concept, it's the spirituality of it, the concept of knowing that I'm doing the right thing. The fact that you came to me, the fact that you have a much bigger community than mine at Aaron's Opinion, and thank you for joining my community. And we'll certainly talk off air in a minute about other communities, and we'll connect on Messenger about it. But certainly, what really inspires me is that I'm starting to notice that other people are starting to notice what we do at Aaron's Opinion is that it is working slowly but surely. We're working. And that's evidence to me that other blind people, like you've discovered, other blind people need this information. Other blind people want to reciprocate and participate in this information. So that's what inspires me. And with every episode I put out or put together, I feel better. Each time I do it's almost like medicine for me. You say that AI is like a tool. Well, I think podcasting is also a tool, to be able to help people feel better. So that's why I do it, because I know that I'm doing the right thing in my own community, wherever that may be. Certainly we can talk privately in the future, but in my community, I'm also in my Lions Club. So I really understand, as you do, the value, the spiritual value of giving back to other people and what that really means and how to do it well. And that's what I do as a person. I just help other people, just like you. That's why.
That that's awesome, and I think we need more of that. That we get stuck in this feeling that we're used to the same old quote blind people, the same old blind experiences. And no, that's not true. Like we're not the norm. Like the techie people, and even if you're not a techie person, we're not the norm. Um, there's people that are blind that are just losing their vision, that are trying to figure out how to get off the couch.
It's really hard for them, and
It
I was
is.
born blind, and I have consistently struggled enormously to communicate. And I say this with humility. I recognize that I struggle to communicate with blind people who are recently blind as older adults. It's a completely different psyche. And that's very, very hard for me to figure out ways of expressing things in some ways, so that really affects, I mean, that really affects them. And I've seen groups that are like that, and they're old, and it's very sad. They worked for many
It is.
years as a sighted person, and then they have to transition to being a blind person. I mean, blindness never defines us, and blindness is not disabling. But in another philosophical sense, if you're used to being sighted for most of your life, and then you have to learn to be a blind person, that in a philosophical way is, in a sense, truly an obstacle for them, you know. So that I have
Of
a lot of
course.
interest in. Yeah, that's totally different. Yeah. Absolutely. So, you know, before, and by the way, I had known of a Shawn Keen for a while, actually years. And I was just purely curious. Like, have you listened to any of my other content? Have you ever known of Aaron's? Have you known of an Aaron's opinion before, you know, we got onto the emails and started talking?
No, I hadn't, and
That's all
it's
right.
because it's a lot bigger world than people think. I think that we
Absolutely.
lose track sometimes of being online is realizing how big this world is. And I think sometimes, as podcasters and sometimes we get stuck in that thing of thinking, oh, there's, if Sean does this or if Aaron does this, there's not enough room for me. There's
There's
plenty of
always
room.
more. I wish there, you know what? I
Yeah.
wish there was more competition because we need more podcasters in the healthy marketplace. I wish there were
Yep.
more. I
Yeah.
wish there were more. That's why it's hard. I wish there were more podcasters, but unfortunately, what tends to happen is they just listen to the shows they like and forget that they can have an influence too, and that's a really subtle thing.
Sure.
Anybody can get into podcasting. Goodness knows, there's no there's no barrier to entry. All you have to do is just record your voice, and you're good. You
Yep.
know, there's
Yep.
nobody's checking up on you. You know,
Nope.
nobody. You know, that's why podcasting is powerful because it helps people without a barrier to entry. And, you know, when I was growing up, there was a lot of barriers to entry. And, you know, that's another philosophical thing that really gets in people's way are barriers to entry. But anyway, all of that is wonderful, Shawn. I will certainly be, as you will be, I will be promoting what you're doing to my global audience at Aaron's Opinion. And you are forever welcome to tell people when appropriate, you're forever welcome to share what I do with your community as well. But so if people want to get in touch with Shawn Keen, how can you be reached?
The best way is just to go to blindhq.com, and that links to everywhere. It links to AI for the blind. That links to everything I do. I got there's a AI music tutorial in there. There's just a lot of fun things, and if you want to reach out to me, feel free. My email address is on there. My Calendly is on there. Feel free to schedule an appointment. I'd love to talk to you.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Well, we will certainly be promoting that link and all of that. So I could not have asked for better. All right, Shawn. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, you are forever welcome in Aaron's Opinion. We'll, of course, talk a little later today off air. But of course, until then, thank you so much, Shawn Keen, AI for the Blind. Keep creating and just thank you for contributing and creating such a wonderful conversation with me today. So, of course, until next time, everybody, be well. Keep creating wonderful AI stuff and podcasts and everything else. And until next time, everybody, be well. And of course, help one person today. Help 1 million people tomorrow.